Alright. Alright, so I got my sound damperers surrounded by me as best I can for the shop right now. I've got a grizzly on my left, a grizzly and a wolf on my left, a grizzly and a wolf on my right, and a polar bear underneath me. Let's see if that makes a difference. I'm sure it will, right? And what was I going to say? Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I'll write down notes that I want to talk about, or I want everybody to possibly talk about, but I think there's enough people out there right now. There's a pile of people out there right now, very educated, unselfish people who basically deserted their careers, lost their careers because they care more about all of you out there and getting the truth out to you when it comes to all sorts of various high impact topics that are going on today, which are affecting every single one of us around the globe. And I think I find it somewhat frustrating to watch what's going on, and this topic can be used as a slight example. It's amazing to me how many people will be told factual information from somebody so qualified as ridiculous, yet there's so many human beings out there that will still just have that glazed over look on their face, looking at the tube or looking at the person. The information gets delivered straight to them, straight up information, and they'll still just kind of go like this. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of frustrating. But there's so many examples of that today with humans today, modern human beings today. It's a little alarming. There's a lot of people who, just as an easy example, let's just say obesity, fat people, obese people. The information's out there that if you wake up and drink that great big huge bottle of soda jam-packed with sugar, which is proven to be a toxic substance to human bodies, you're probably going to get diabetes, overweight, and die. But people still do it. You see what I mean? It's just an easy example of giving somebody true, honest information that's going to help them, and they look at the person who's delivering it to them, and they have that glazed over look, goes right over top of their head, and they're never going to take in that information no matter what. And we could all come up with numerous, various different examples of that today very easily, unfortunately. But it's now I'm not as frustrated with those people who can't take the information in as I am the fact that it's so common for so many human beings today to take in good, solid, helpful information, but their brains can't wrap around it. And I want to know why. Why is that? It's 2021. We're at the time of life when we're so far advanced, it's crazy, and we're very knowledgeable, and we're very more advanced than we were years ago, apparently. But unfortunately, it has been proven so many times that so many people are actually the opposite today. And the mainstream the mainstream narrative is tending to make the population go backwards when it comes to being intelligent and independent and healthy. It's frustrating, isn't it? It's very frustrating. But anyway, I hope that would help some of you people who get frustrated with the people who can't wrap their brains around this topic and the facts that are associated with it. The facts that we deliver here, a lot of people get frustrated with the people who can't accept it, but just remember, there's people with heart disease and lung disease that still fire up a cigarette, okay? There's people with livers who are diseased who still pound alcohol every single day. But they're told flat out, nonstop, all around them, the facts. But they can't take in the facts, they just keep smashing their faces in that brick wall anyway. But anyway, I don't know, maybe I'm delivering that. Sometimes I don't think my delivery is as smooth as the thoughts and the words are in my head, and I don't practice this, I don't script this, I just kind of light up the camera and let it rip, right? But anyway, I think maybe possibly the message today on that is I just would like to hopefully encourage every one of you out there to have patience with people who just cannot pick up what you're putting down. Because it's unfortunate, a big chunk of our modern civilization today has been conditioned to not be able to pick up good, honest, solid, helpful facts. I'm certain of it. So be patient, all right? Don't go bashing your head against the wall too much when it comes to people that cannot wrap their brains around what you're trying to throw down, okay? Because it's not just this topic, it's numerous topics today that people just cannot and will not accept or react to or fight against. And it's very, very unfortunate. But hopefully there will be enough of us in the end to win when it comes to sharing good, truthful knowledge. And we'll take back the narrative, and we'll take back making true, honest knowledge and help being the priority, the mainstream priority. Now, listen to this. What do we got? Hi, Steve. Thank you for this platform. My name is JB. Being of native descent, I've always known of the natural and supernatural world. Being 60 years old, I've had a lot of out-of-this-world experiences. Okay, my experience with the Sabe. In Cherokee, we call them Sul Kalul, or Cherokee Devil. October 29, 2019, I found 4 rocks that had been thrown onto my front porch. Okay, not thinking much of it until one night at 3 a.m. I heard a wood knock less than 50 feet from my house. Thinking, what was that? Started my search for what could make sounds like that. With no prior experience with such beings, I started looking on the internet. Came across many stories about Bigfoot, and then something really weird happened. I was in bed with the wind open, must have been the window open, and heard footsteps in my front yard. Then I heard a finger roll on the wall, like you take your hand and roll your fingers from your little to your first finger. That was when I knew this is no animal. At that moment, it started to mind speak to me. It started with telling me that they could tell if you were a bad person or not by looking into your heart. And then he said, my name is Katie, and you have questioned that I will answer. I asked many questions, like, how do you live here? His answer was, we live in the forest just like you live in houses. How are you reading my mind? We have the ability to speak both ways, and you would not understand my language. Why are you here? To teach and learn. They are the same word with us. I asked, how do you not show up on cameras or trail cameras? He said that they live in a different plane than we do. That they can cross between both worlds, natural and supernatural or spirit world. Our eyes see different than your eyes. We see in all colors. Infrared is like looking into the sun, so we avoid them. Why do you like scaring humans? Because it is so funny to us. We do not have entertainment like you, so we make our own. Type up. Humans that do not see the spirit world are easy to scare. Steve, this is the first time talking with Mindspeak. I know there are going to be people that do not believe this, but I don't care, it is truth. Like when you say, take only what you want. Second visit, about a week later, and a lot of time to think about what was put into my head. Again at 3 a.m. I heard footsteps outside my window. Here in North Georgia, in October, the weather was mild for this time of year, and I love sleeping with the windows open. Then came the finger roll, and in my mind he said, are you awake? I said, yes. You can talk more. Okay. So many thought was going on in my head. He said, slow down. I asked, why are there some of your kind that hate us? He said, some are just like us, some are bad, some are good. And then he said, some have gone away for a while. I said, what do you mean? They leave with the men in black. When they come back, they are never the same. I understood what he was saying. Whoever these people are in the government take some of these beings and do trouble things to them. Could you imagine the government with a weapon like this? That could make you feel absolute terror, complete calm. The ability to see in all color spectrum. What are they doing to these beings is unspeakable. And that is why the government don't want us, the people, to know they are here. Maybe this will help build a little more of the picture for someone. I have over 10 encounters with K-E-I. Kai. I will write more another time as I know this is a long story. Thank you and keep up the good work. P.S. I sent a little of this to another channel here in the south. It is being watched by the government because a week after sending it, black helicopters came to my house for about a week. Sorry, black souls. Well, that's definitely a chunk to wrap your brain around, isn't it? And don't forget, you guys, take from it what you will or leave it, all right? We've had numerous people, I've had people here in British Columbia talk about having conversations with these beings. We had a guy in BC who had a friendship with one of these things when he was a young boy growing up, and then came across it recently again near the Fraser Valley and said it was huge. And they use mind speak still, right? There isn't one of us on here that can dictate whether or not the mind speak thing is true or not. Not one of us, because we don't know everything. We haven't been there, or we haven't had it happen to us yet. But we have had, what, thousands of people now write in that this mind speak thing's going down? Thousands of people. So, what are you going to do with that information? What are you going to do when you have thousands of people telling us from around the world that aren't connected that they have these things communicating with them without speaking out loud? What are you going to do? I know one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen, and I'm going to hopefully learn a lot more and try to make sense of this for myself. Now, to the original emailer right now, thank you so much for sharing that. And if I got carried away right now, I would probably rattle off about 500 questions for you to pass along. I think at this point of the game, I'd like to know who exactly abducts these beings or takes them away. Where do these people come from? Who are they? Do they do this around the globe in every single country? Do they do it in Canada and in the United States only? What's up? Who is it? Who signs their paychecks? And one thing that would make me kind of question that in a way would be, all right, so these evil dirtbag humans that possibly do this, why would they even let them go? Why would they let them go back in the woods? Why would they seem to terminate a lot of human beings, right? There could be a lot of questions fired at you. But I think I'll sit back, take in what you're sharing, and I'm going to anticipate you sharing more, and I'm going to look forward to it because I want to learn. I want to hear what you got, all right? I want to hear what you got. I want to hear it all. So email it back. Share it with the people through me, okay? Appreciate your time you took sending that in. So many messages. What's this one? So it's titled Forest People. Hey Steve, my name is Don Ward. I am from Indiana. I've never seen one of the forest people, though I have no doubt of their existence. What I saw and how it happened screwed up my head and changed my life for years. I'll keep this short as I know how many emails you get. There's peer-reviewed scientific proof something like Bigfoot is out there. Look up Mount St. Helens deer bone piles. There you can read a peer-reviewed paper by a scientist. He tested the DNA and looked at the tooth imprints left in the bone. The tooth imprints were like a human's, but only 4 or 5 times larger. They estimated a human would have to be around 8 to 10 feet tall to have this large of teeth. The DNA showed up as unknown human, if I recall correctly. My sighting of a little person. When I was 14, I turned the flashlight beam on. It was in a clearing with 3 inches of water in it. What I lit up was a 2.5 foot tall, little goblin-like creature. It looked a lot like a golem on Lord of the Rings. I was raised in a very religious home, so I couldn't tell anyone. My 2 close friends that I did tell wasn't sure what to make of it. They knew me well enough to know I didn't make up stories, and I was very serious. They just tried to reason it out as they saw a deer, a pheasant, LOL. I spent years trying to figure out what it was. My First Nations great-grandma was dead, so no info there. I finally found out the First Nations see them, knew of them, and have oral history about them. I could happily fill you in if it wasn't for time. If you want more info, I'll be happy to send it to you. Dogs, you ask why they killed them. My thoughts on that, from what I have heard over the years, is this. 1, the dogs are a huge threat to them. Dogs have much higher physical sensory perception than we do. They are truly our first alert. They can hear and smell Sabe much earlier than we can. The forest people have a much harder time hiding from a dog than us. All the knowledge I have gained over the years listening to encounters is this. The forest people hate getting seen by us. Dogs alert us way before most people know they're around. So yeah, they kill them ASAP. Also, a dog may be a delicacy to them. Think of all the people whose dogs have been killed. If you go back over those killings, the one that will stand out is this, that every dog killed first is always the ones that alerted their owners to the forest people's presence. So that dog is the one targeted and killed as soon as it can be. That shows how important a dog is to humans. It also allows us to see how worried or disturbed Sasquatch is when we have a dog. I really feel this is one of the most important things we can learn for our safety. I feel like the forest people will be more likely to leave you alone if you have a dog with you. Now I know none of these are 100%. I know dogs separated from a human will get attacked by them. Some dogs shut themselves and will run off and leave you there. How many reports can you recall a human and a dog getting attacked together? I hope this helps. Hunting over the years, I've found I can lose sight of an animal, but I can usually feel where it is. I don't know how to explain it, I just know it's possible. So if I can do that, anyone can. It's just a matter of developing it. It also takes a bit of trust in your instincts. Most people argue away those skills. They are so sure it's not real, they lose them. Thank you, Steve, for all you do. I'm sorry that this is long. Trust me, I cut so much out to keep it short. Feel free to contact me anytime, or if you want any more information. I'm happy to help the community in any way. Don Ward. Okay, Don, thanks for that, man. And if you got more knowledge to share that's going to help the people, you think it's going to help somebody through me, share it. Just share it, okay? Share what you got, share it all, and get it out. It's the only way people are going to learn honestly today is by listening to each other. That's the only way, without a doubt, all right? Letting the people speak. Every single word is heard. Take from what you will or leave it, but that's how we're going to learn. Nobody dictates to us what may be heard or not, except us from here on in, all right? Only us, okay? What else do we have? Bigfoot counter. Hi, Steve, hope all is well. First, just want to say how much I love your channel. I recently started to follow you. I have to say you're doing an amazing job. Thank you for the kind words. Last summer, my wife and I went to Glacier National Park for a 5 days camping trip. We picked a spot at Logging Creek. Very nice, quiet, and far from everything. On our third day, we decided to hike to the Quartz Trail, the Quartz Lake Trail. We didn't really know how long it would take to get to the lake, but we were prepared for a long distance hike anyways. After an hour or so, you get to an old homestead built in the early 1900s, which is in a big clearing. Then you enter a much more wooded area. By the looks of it, the tracks of the last person who hiked that part of the trail were about 2 days old. So about 20 minutes in, we hear a big snap. It sounded like a big tree had broken off. Weird thing, there was no other sound, like a tree falling to the ground. So my wife and I looked at each other, kind of spooked by it. We both felt like something was looking at us. For some reason, I don't know why, I decided to whistle. 3 times I did. Maybe I just felt like we had to let whatever was looking to us. Maybe I just felt like we had to let whatever was looking to us, that we knew it was. Not even a second after my third whistle, we both heard a clear, distinct answer. 3 whistles. We both looked at each other speechless. Right after that, we just turned and kept walking like nothing happened. At this point, we just wanted to get to our destination. The whole last hour of our hike, we could hear steps. When we would stop, it would stop. It was following us until we crossed Quartz Creek. After that, nothing. No weird feeling, no steps, just quietness. In no time, I felt like we were in danger, but it felt like it wanted us gone from that area. My name is Alex. I've been in the woods hiking and fishing my whole life. I've served in the Canadian Armed Forces. Never had felt that way. I did that day. Thanks again for your awesomeness. Keep up the good work. And thank you for frickin' sending that in and sharing that, man. And I'll bet you, I don't know where you guys went into training before when you first entered the forces, but a lot of people go to Alberta for training. And a lot of people who go for training in Alberta have experience with these things. So maybe possibly if you're still connected with a bunch of guys you're in service with, shoot them an email or shoot them this video or something and see if they want to add anything to it. All right? Thanks for that share, man. just to show a lot of the First Nations people always say, never whistle in the forest, right? Never whistle in the forest is the word in the street. What do we got here? I went through my phone, and, I went through my emails actually, did searches for keywords and came across so many missed emails. So, this is titled Yukon Bigfoot, and it was forwarded to me by Dr. Melba Ketchum. Thanks, Melba, appreciate it. Hello, Steve. This guy asked me to forward this to you. I don't really know him, but here it is. Best MK. All right. Hi, Steve. My name is Grant Pauls, and I'm a descendant from the Tahltan tribe from northern British Columbia. Dease Lake, well, I guess south of Dease Lake, right? I'm totally familiar with where the Tahltans live in their area. I've decided to write out my encounter I had in 1995. I grew in a small town called Ross River in the Yukon Territory. The community is made up of approximately 20% non-native people and 80% native, who mostly are of the Casca Nation. As a kid growing up in Ross River, I had heard of many stories from the Casca elders of their own encounters with Negwani, or bushmen. They were described as giant, 10-foot tall, hairy beings that stole women and children, and you had to be wary of their potential presence while hunting, fishing, or trapping in the bush. Hearing the stories from time to time was the normal, and I just placed it in the back of my mind thinking it was a long time ago legend or prehistoric thing. I spent a lot of time hunting, fishing, and even worked for the Yukon Territorial Government, highway summer camps, as well as various mining companies, so the bush and remote locations were normal for me. I've been living in Whitehorse in Watson Lake, Yukon, off and on for close to 8 years, and had recently moved back to Ross River, and decided I should go hunting for moose since it was August 1st, meaning it was now officially hunting season and moose were fattening up. I decided to travel from my mother and father's house, which was about 10 kilometers south/east of Ross River along the Robert Campbell Highway. The location of interest was about 40 kilometers east of Mom and Dad's house along the Quetzal River Mine Road, an area I knew very well as I had worked at the mine in 86-87 after graduating high school. I drove to the mine road after work and soon realized it was kind of early to hunt for moose as it was a bit too warm, but I thought maybe I'd get lucky. So I decided to stop and check out a small lake located 3.5 kilometers south of the Campbell Highway and west of the Quetzal River Mine Road. Parked my truck and grabbed my rifle and walked in about 160 meters to the lake, but could not reach the lake as the shore was heavily grown in with heavy thick willow stands. I decided not to try and bushwhack my way to the lake as I could hear ducks flapping and quacking along the shore, and I just wanted to take in the moment. So I decided to lay down in the moss and close my eyes, as it was such a warm and peaceful evening. I've done that lots in the middle of nowhere in August up there, man. It's just the body, the temperature outside is almost the same as your body, and it's so comfortable, and it's very relaxing. I've done the same a lot. After about 20 or 30 minutes of laying back in the moss and my eyes closed, I could hear something, or something's moving around approximately 50 meters behind me towards the direction of the road where I had parked. I originally thought birds or squirrels, but realized the movement was too heavy and quick to be either birds or squirrels. I thought maybe it was a bear, possibly. I know I didn't want to be laying down in moss with a curious bear around, so I quickly jumped up to my feet and headed towards my parked truck with my rifle in hand. All movement stopped, and I felt weirded out. But I continued my short walk back to the truck. I thought nothing more of the noises and headed back to my parents' house. 2 days later, I decided to head back to the same general location on the mine road again, but this time I was going to park a half a kilometer further at kilometer 4, where there's a 40 or 50 foot high gravel knoll on the east side of the road, which would give me a perfect view of a small chain of lakes east of the road. I parked the truck at the base of the knoll and climbed to the top of the little knoll. A couple moose calls. After about 10 minutes, I realized it was getting dusk sooner than expected, and the area was strangely deadpan quiet. It was polar opposite to what the area was just previous 2 days earlier. I decided to make a couple more moose calls and started to think about what I should be doing next. Wait around listening for activity or head home. I looked down to the bottom of the knoll where the truck was parked and I gazed towards the road looking southwest when I noticed two human silhouettes backlit by the sun, looking in my direction, 220 meters away. The two people were standing just right off the road, and were standing next to a small spruce tree, and were standing amongst the buckbrush willows. I noticed the buckbrush was at the waist height of the person on the left, and there was a shimmer of dark red, brown, and black along its right arm and shoulder. I automatically assumed he was wearing what I thought was a plaid wool bush jacket, without seeing any actual plaid shapes, for reference only. I noticed the person on the right was moving back and forth like they were antsy. I also noticed the buckbrush was at mid-chest line on the shorter being. I just stared at them, and they were looking back at me. I could not see their faces as they were backlit by the sun as it was turning to dusk. I tried hard to see facial markers like brow, eyes, nose, and chin, but I could not see any of the outline markers. I had a freaky, fleeting, momentary thought to myself, bushman. Then my mind raced to rationalize the situation, and I thought those are locals from Ross River, camped, and were likely cutting firewood, as this location was originally an area where a lot of firewood was cut. The being on the right kept looking up at the being on the left, judging by the way it kept cocking its head. It was like the smaller being was motioning to the big being. That hunter didn't realize we are here. And my mind raced to, oh no, I was calling moose and people are watching me. I felt immediately embarrassed as it all made sense to why it was just so deadpan quiet and there was no sign of game. I decided to face my embarrassment and walk down to the truck and drive over towards where I spotted them and say hello, and maybe ask how was my moose call, lol. As I walked down the gravel knoll, I gave the people one big wave as to say, I see you too. I climbed into the truck and drove the quarter-kilometer down the road and noticed they were gone, and I overshot the location a little bit. So instead of backing up and trying to turn around on the eroded road, I thought I would drive half a kilometer further to an area which I knew I could turn around with ease. I got turned around and neared the location where I last saw them. I noticed there was no camp or trucks or anything. It looked like no one had camped in that area in years. I looked to notice there was no recent tire tracks either. I noticed the small spruce tree and the buckbrush where I'd seen the two people standing. No one was around. I looked at the buckbrush and I figured it was as high as the other buckbrush I walked through 2 days earlier, maybe 5 to 5.5 feet tall. I immediately thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. Did I just see two bushmen? I started to feel adrenaline building in my system. I thought to myself, go to the top of the gravel knoll and look again because it could have been shadows. But if I don't, I'll never know for sure. I drove to the bottom of the knoll, jumped out and grabbed my gun just in case, and ran to the top of the knoll and turned back to look towards the small spruce tree and the buckbrush. And I saw nothing but the small spruce tree and the buckbrush. I ran back to the truck and hauled ass back to my parents' house, traveling between 140 and 60 kilometers an hour. I swear to God, my adrenaline was so high, and it lasted for the entire 40-kilometer drive with my body shaking and my mind racing with what I just saw. I arrived back to my parents and come through the door, way pumped up, and strangely enough, noticed they were watching a story on TV about Bigfoot. I announced to them, that's what I saw, and pointed at the TV. I went on and told them my experience and what I saw. They just listened and didn't say a lot. The following day, a family friend of ours came to visit us. His name was Frank, and he's a traditional Casca Native man who spent years in that particular area hunting, fishing, and trapping. Before I knew it, I just blurted out to him what I saw. I expected to be laughed at or to be berated by him. What he said to me blew me away. He said, I know where they live. I was like, what? I know where they live. I saw them and I followed them to where they live. I felt both vindicated for my sighting in an area he knew like the back of his hand. I was also astounded with what he said. I shared my story and he shared his story. My dad was standing there just shaking his head in amazement and disbelief. To this day, when I share this story, 25 years later, the hair stands up, my arms, and I get the EBGBs. I've not been able to shake those feelings of being freaked out. Through this experience, it took me 3 years to go hunting again. Now when I hunt, my sixth sense is on high alert. I've become a super hunter where I can see movement, shape, and sound way before everyone else sees anything. It's truly freaky. What I saw was two large reddish-brown, dark brown / black hair-covered beings with conical-shaped heads, no necks, with the large one standing between 8 to 9 feet tall, with a set of shoulders that easily was 4 to 5 feet across and weighed 6 to 750 pounds. The smaller one was 7 to 8 feet tall and was 5 to 600 pounds. The only thing I compare to the width and the height of this being would be like looking at a large Clydesdale horse and seeing width of its belly and top of its head standing and looking straight at you. That would begin to give you an idea of the width of his shoulders and the height of the beings. For comparison, I'm 6 feet tall, 280 pounds, 280-pound man with shoulders spread at 24 inches, or 2 feet. These beings made me look like a kid. I can tell you, it's not a matter of whether I believe they exist. It's a matter of what are they exactly, and why are they not acknowledged by governments. I did recently hear something on one of the YouTube Bigfoot channels which helped put me at ease, which I never thought about until then. These beings have always been here. My name is Grant Pauls, and this is my story. And there is Bigfoot, or Negwani, in the Yukon territory. Madu means thank you in my language. If you have time, please call me after reading, as I live in North Vancouver. I'd like to share a couple other stories I heard related to the subject. My number is... Well, then you gave me a Google Earth picture of Ross River, and you gave me a Google Earth picture of where you were, the lake, the road, the 2 locations, plaid jacket. Okay, man. And there's a picture of the lake. I mean, I can show you guys, but it's not really... Here, let's do it anyways. What the hell? People get mad at me. There's the lake. There's the plaid shirt. There is the gravel road where he was, where he's seen these things. Again. And there is the Google Earth location. There you go. Whoa, it saves me. I'm sitting on a pack box for my horse. My tack here right now is wobbly. What did I share? Anything on there? Okay, just to make sure I didn't share any email on those photos. I wasn't thinking of that before I just went and shared the video. All good. All right, there you go. Share, and absolutely appreciate it. And I've been to basically everywhere you've been up there in my past too. When I travel up there to go guiding or just hanging out with friends in northern BC, we used to drive from Toad River all the way to the Yukon and back again when it never got dark out at night, just to see how many bears we'd see and stuff. But anyway, just in the southern Yukon border, Carcross is tons, dozens and dozens of encounters there, non-stop. And game wardens also had one. They went along the right of way, beside the highway. Everybody's got a quad trail beside the highway. The 2 game wardens were on the quad trail, and this thing was standing in the ditch on the other side of the road, looking right out on Alaska Highway up there. So you're not alone, man. If I get time and I think of it and I'm back in Vancouver, I'll give you a call. We can hook up. Maybe we'll have you over here once we get this fired up. Who knows? But if not, either way, make sure you share more knowledge than you come across, all right? So we're looking for knowledge here. And take note that we're not looking for evidence. We're not looking for proof here. I just realized that the other day. We don't ask for evidence. We don't ask for proof, ever. We don't even discuss it. Isn't that great? We're at the next level. The next level, we want to hear knowledge. We want to know the knowledge of these things, the why, where, how, whens, and why we're being lied to. Why are we being lied to? Here's one. My grandfather's story. Hey Steve, love your videos. You seem like a really genuine guy and a really good hunter. And my story is my grandfather's story. A really beautiful place that is in the western side of Wyoming in the Rockies. My family spent many generations hunting across the states, mostly in Wyoming, Montana, and Colorado. This is not my story, but my grandfather's. His name is Ron Martin, and my grandfather's a really true, down-to-earth country boy. Anyway, my grandfather went hunting in a place north of Alpine and below Jackson Hole in a place called Smoky Valley. Unfortunately, now that place is currently in flames. But that's not the point. He was hunting for elk he had been tracking this herd of bulls and 2 cows for a while, and he finally got the chance to go and try to get the bull he had his eye on. So he packed up by himself and went off. He said he set up camp at the top of the other side of the valley, which he said he had never hunted before. On this first day, he saw signs of the herd all over the valley, but no elk. It was getting dark, so he walked back to camp. As he was walking back, he said he felt the hair on the back of his neck turn to wire, as if he was being watched on the way back. The first day he walked back on the same trail he walked going up on when he saw a footprint in the mud next to his older boot print. He said it had 5 toes. It was almost twice as big as his boot. He started studying the tracks and where they came from and where he thought they were going. He said that he followed the tracks about 30 yards from the first print, and he had found a bunch of broken pine limbs 10 feet off the ground with the same tracks around it he'd seen before. He saw in the mud what looked like a scuffle of some sort around the broken limbs. When he looked closer, he saw blood. He touched his finger to it, and he said it was still warm. Then he noticed that the tracks went back towards camp, but they looked more deep in the mud, as if whatever it was carrying something. When he finally got back to camp, it had been torn apart. The cooler full of jerky and whatever else is in there was thrown 20 feet high, stuck in a tree. He saw no signs of any animal that could do this, but he still slumbered up and was excited for the next day. I don't want to drag it on, so I'll say that the next few days he saw nothing except a grizzly bear, but there were a lot of signs of the herd I was talking about before, but other than that, nothing. The next day he said that he was glassing the valley for a little while and saw the herd of elk he'd been talking about. He watched them for a little bit and noticed that all the elk were on the edge. One of the cows with one calf especially, he took note and kept watching. All of a sudden, the herd got spooked and ran up the valley towards my grandpa. He got excited, walked down to 200 yards and sat and waited with his 308. He saw the big bull elk. He saw this time the year before, and he waited for a clear shot. The bull had 10 points on one side and 12 on the other, with a drop tine, or whatever you call it. I can't remember, yards away, and it dropped and then ran. He waited a little while to go after it. The bull had ran up the valley and down the other side and fell over some rocks and broke its left antler. He was packing it out and went the short way to camp. He came back to get the rest of it after about 3 trips back and forth, packing that batch out, and there on his last one he came back and the rest of the elk was gone. He had already grabbed most of the meat and the head. He saw where it had been dragged, and he sat there for a minute and thought about going after it when he heard a scream like no other animal he knows can make. He said he knows it's not a mountain lion because he spent years with them being a problem on his ranch. He walked up the valley a couple miles back to camp without his last quarter of meat, when a rock the size of a shoe was thrown at him and almost hit him in the head. He made it back to safety and home safely. My grandfather is not the type to lie about this stuff. Like that, he is really true down to earth, like he is really true down and to earth. He also said in the same week he killed the elk, he was in a little half saloon-style restaurant. He had a few drinks and was going to drive up the mountain home. When he got up, the bar was empty. He thought that was weird because it had 4 to 5 people in there, which was kind of a lot being in where he lived. He was getting in his truck when he saw a huge blinding light right above him. And then he said the next thing he knew, he was woke up in his truck, rolling up the mountain road going home 5 miles an hour. Crazy, right? You don't have to believe me, but I know my gramps would not lie. My name is Dane. Thank you for listening to my story. I would like if you would tell it, but you do not have to. And I told it, and I loved every second of it, especially when it comes from the grandfather, right? The grandparents. I think today our senior population is probably the most knowledgeable population we have of honest knowledge today. Thanks for sharing that, man. Absolutely appreciate it. And the very end of the story is going to make a handful of people's eyes roll, but from the intelligent people that I hear from today, that I trust in my life and are investigating much, you better start listening to people when they say look up. Okay? That's what I can share with you right now is if you're feeling alarmed, uneasy, something's not right, look up. All right? It's not a bad thing to do today. There's 100% some threats coming from above. 100%. Take from that what you will or leave it. You might want to take something from it. Anyway, that should be good for right now. I got to go back in and got some Halloween stuff to do. We're going to have a little bit of a home family pumpkin carving competition. So that'll be good. And then I'm going to come back out possibly and share some more. You probably hear that noise in the background. Probably sounds like white noise. That's what it's called. But it's actually rain pouring on my metal roof on top of the shop here. It's absolutely pouring rain. I don't see any end to it anytime soon, but it is what it is. I'll be back and sharing a lot more with you guys real quick. So, share my story, howtohunt.com, tell my story, howtohunt.com. And you got knowledge, you make sure you get it in, all right? The people need good, solid, honest knowledge today, possibly more than any time ever previous in our history.